Okay, we're looking at how Instagram changed women forever. And this sounds pretty interesting to me. Sounds pretty neat. Here we go.
23 shows how far we've fallen. It was the Barbie Botox. Named after the toy's signature long neck, the procedure spread like wildfire on Instagram after the release of the film. A series of injections to the trapezius muscles in the neck renders them unable to contract, which lowers your shoulders and makes your neck look slightly longer. Despite the risk of muscle paralysis and severe pain, thousands of people rushed out to get this hot new treatment. But this is a very recent phenomenon. No one did this in the past. No movie made people—
You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that to be beautiful. People who get Botox early on are just freaking ugly growing up. Like, ew.
do this kind of thing. And that's when you realize that the Barbie Botox is just the tip of a massive iceberg, a trend that's hiding behind the surface.
How many people did this?
You see, the plastic surgery industry has been booming for years off the back of Instagram and TikTok. Invasive procedures go in and out of fashion every month, as a young impressionable audience goes from one insecurity to another, fed to them by Instagram's algorithm. Meanwhile, celebrities and influencers work hand in hand with the industry, making promotional posts and boasting about their procedures and the results. As new procedures dip in and out of fashion, influencers target people's mental weaknesses and make a fortune drumming up clients for the industry. And now that plastic surgery is growing fastest among young adults looking to replicate the inhuman perfection they see on the app, it's time we really expose how Instagram is quite literally changing the face of the world. At the time of its founding, it would have been nearly impossible to predict the rise of Instagram into one of the biggest social media apps in the world. But looking back, it's easy to see that all the right ingredients were there for massive success. It all goes down to the founders Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger.
Well, the real answer is everyone wants to judge other people. I'm prettier than you. You're butt-faced ugly. Come on. We've been doing this since the dawn of time. We've been telling people that they're ugly from the dawn of time, okay?
The pair originally met while studying at Stanford, and even before they had started their careers, they were being headhunted by the big names in tech. Kevin Systrom even turned down an internship at Facebook to spend time studying photography in Italy. Kevin would go on to intern at Odeo, a small app which would later become Twitter, and afterwards he would then get headhunted by Google and worked there for 2 years. But even after a short time in the industry, Kevin was frustrated. He had just been passed up for a promotion and was sick of the culture of the company, and went against all the original ideas of Silicon Valley. Kevin wanted to fully throw himself into a creative idea and exploit an opening in the market by building something of his own. Kevin knew his old college friend Mike was just as ambitious as he was, and so he thought he would explain his vision for a new app, something he would tell Forbes in an interview a few years later. Mike Krieger and I created Instagram because we wanted a way to communicate visually. We realized that we'd be taking all these photos with our iPhones that would sit on our camera roll, and it felt like they should be seen, not necessarily because they were good photos, but because a photo that no one sees isn't really that interesting. Every photo you take communicates
a photo that isn't seen is entirely worthless other than sentimental value. My cousin takes pictures of his food and posts it. Now, that's popular among all. Among me, I don't care what you're shoving in your face. I don't want to see your food. I want to eat, and I want to go do something else. Ew. Like, what am I looking at? Ribs? What am I... Chicken? What is this? I want to see this. I want a picture of this. And you see comments like below it like, scrumptious, making me hungry. Oh, delicious. Can you make that for me sometime? No. Get out of here, man. I don't even want to see it in the first place.
Think about a moment in time, a brief slice of time of where you were, who you were with, and what you were doing. And funnily enough, their idea would prove to be one of the most lucrative ideas of the 21st century. Kevin and Mike immediately got to work on Instagram, pouring everything they had into this new app. And in just 2 weeks, they had already secured $500,000 of funding from investors and were starting to get it ready to launch to the public. But it still wasn't easy. It took the pair a year of work to get everything ready, but they still weren't prepared for what would happen next. Now, there was plenty of interest in the app, and they could tell this from the demos. And so as soon as they launched the app, within just the first week, Instagram had gained over 100,000 users in 2010. This was the highest amount of users resources gained for any single social media app in history. The service for the app and the infrastructure wasn't enough to keep up with the massive influx of users. The new company that barely had anyone working for it had already far exceeded expectations, and so they would have to invest tons back in just to keep the app functional, with back-end tweets and more processing power. And so the first year was just a mad rush to keep up with the user base, with Kevin and Mike sacrificing everything in their lives to keep it afloat. But just when they thought they had gotten on top of the growth, there would be more crashes and more problems to deal with. But as time went on, and they streamlined the process, their hard work was
ads. Let's pay attention.
richly rewarded. You see, investors saw this and knew they had to get a piece of the pie. In less than 2 months after its launch, the app already hit 1 million users, and Instagram was injected with $7 million of investor funding, particularly through System Silicon Valley connections. And users just loved how you could make your photos look so much better than other apps like Facebook. And the key here was filters. Brought in relatively early on to make up for the poor quality of smartphone cameras at the time, the introduction of various photo filters would prove revolutionary. With the touch of a button, users could iron out their wrinkles, cover up any blemishes, and transform their mundane experiences into picturesque moments. What was meant as a simple fix for the lacking technology of the time took on a life of its own. Filters gave Instagram an air of perfection and artistic expression that transcended the dull, boring photos your relatives were posting on Facebook at the time. Although Kevin and Mike could never have foresaw what they had really created and how this would be used in the future. But at the same time that Kevin and Mike were building the photo app of the future, something else was going on. Other people were laying the groundwork for an entirely different way to push past the limits of natural beauty. Now, if you're going to blame anyone for the massive rise in plastic surgery, then you'd have to talk about people like the Kardashians.
Yeah, there's Kanye West's whatever. Plastic surgery is like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're really old, sure. But if you get it when you're young, this goes back to the great man thing. A great man won't need that. Makeup, maybe, beautify you a bit. But a real person doesn't need perfection. A lot of people look at looks and look at how someone is physically to make judgments, you know. And I just don't think that's right. I don't think we should be looking at people like that. I think we should be looking at people through an eye of how talented they are. So I don't see women that get Botox any differently, other than it's their own. If it makes them feel better, good. If it makes them look worse in some cases, then that was their own prerogative. I don't like it personally.
They were unique among celebrities at the time because they truly offered nothing except for their image and their lifestyle. Coming to fame in 2007 after her viral sex tape, Kim and the gang went on to hold their 15 minutes of fame and stretched it out over multiple decades. Kim and her family's signature look exploded onto modern culture and still has an effect on beauty standards today. The modern world's obsession with full lips, big butts, and stenciled eyebrows is in large part thanks to them. Of course, the image they sold to the world so easily didn't really bear any relation to reality.
Look how fake this woman. Look how fake this woman is. Look at this. Look at this. Like, that's it. It's true enough. I took a snippet and posted it in an art chat because her whole body's fake and disgusting.
First, as
I
you
don't
can
need
probably
that
guess, there's all
in
the
my
cosmetic
life.
surgeries and
I
procedures
hate
they've gone
people
through
that
to
are
get
fake
there.
like that.
Then countless layers of makeup, professional photography, and Photoshop are added on. But out of thousands of those photos, only a select few are chosen to be shown to the public. Before the rise of social media, this kind of deception was only available to the rich and famous. Even their own influence.
Like, where did my thing go? Oh. Have celebrities influenced plastic surgery?
Alone has a huge effect on the cosmetics.
Like, for sure. Like, it's not even close. If a celebrity like Taylor Swift to jump off a bridge, I'm sure there's people dumb enough to do it. And if Taylor Swift gets plastic surgery, yeah, some impressionable teenage girl is going to go get plastic surgery. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? This is a no-brainer.
Surgery industry. When a 17-year-old Kylie Jenner boasted of getting lip fillers to achieve her signature look, online searches for the procedure went up by over 3,000%. The so-called Brazilian butt lift procedures have only grown in popularity thanks to Kim and her family. The procedure involves a surgeon taking fat deposits from elsewhere on the body and then transferring them to the buttocks. Between 2000 and 2018, the amount of butt lift procedures has risen by over 250%. Over time, though, the procedures fades away and the results disappear, so regular procedures are required to keep it up. Even the Kardashians themselves regretted the procedure in the end, with Kim recently admitting that she'd stopped having her top-ups. The procedure is massively popular, but also incredibly risky compared to other cosmetic surgery. When it goes wrong, people can get nasty infections and sometimes require surgery to remove the implants. Or if the fat gets into the bloodstream, it can actually cause embolisms and blockages to vital organs. 1 in every 4,000 people die as a result of the complications, which is what led to the UK banning it in 2018. Eventually, they reversed the decision in 2022 after bringing in new safety regulations, but there's still a whole world of unlicensed practitioners performing a different version of the procedure. While they're not allowed to perform the surgical version with the potentially fatal side effects, they're still allowed to blindly inject people with artificial substances. It's not like the UK's ban really did anything anyway. The people who were determined enough to get it done were freely able to just go abroad to places like Turkey or Mexico, where the procedure is completely legal and often mostly unregulated and far cheaper. Even today, there's countless adverts for this all over Facebook and Instagram, but nothing has.
I don't want anybody sticking any needle or fat into my body. If you've seen me dance, I got enough fat jiggling around my booty that I don't want any of this. And I don't need anyone who's done this to look this way. I don't need, if I'm going out to find a woman and they tell me they had plastic surgery to look the way they do, I'll be like, okay. That's nice. Sorry you had to go through that procedure. Like, I don't really care. I don't even think the Kardashians are pretty. I hate surgeries people do to their lips. I think it's gross. I think it makes them look worse. I hate big lips. So, you don't really need to go on Instagram and look at all this stuff, because I'm going to tell you right now, most people don't care. At least here in the States. Most people don't care about a lot of things here in the States.
Promoted plastic surgery and made the world more plastic and fake than it's ever been, like Instagram. The Kardashians might have remained in the background for most people, ending up as has-been stars like so many before them. But instead, their recipe for success based on their looks and their status alone was about to go global. And that was all thanks to Instagram. But how did an innocent photo sharing website become the money-making machine it is today? The answer is Mark Zuckerberg. You see, Zuck's vision for a social media business was
the one true lizard. Here he comes, coming to make some money. The lizard is here, baby, and he knows how to profit from women's pain.
a lot different compared to Kevin Systrom or Mike Krieger. While they were thinking about how to make money from people's photos, Mark was interested in commodifying the people instead. Even before Mark started Facebook, he had already demonstrated his true feelings towards his users. While he's rejected that the film The Social Network was true in his account of his website FaceMash.
Right, like they just can't wrap their head around the idea that Someone might build something because they like building things.
The evidence shows that it wasn't that far off. Articles from Harvard newspapers show how he plundered Harvard's registers for pictures of people's faces. He then used these to create a website where people could rank each other on attractiveness, while the backend secretly assigned them their own rating out of 10. While it was quickly shut down, the stunt informed the future development of Facebook to a massive degree. Facebook did the same thing in turning its users into the product, just in a more sinister way. It was all about maximizing engagement for users, whilst plundering all the possible data they could find, and then selling this to advertisers and giving them easy targets for their campaigns was the final step in the profit machine. Whilst these weren't new ideas, Zuckerberg perfected them at Facebook. A combination of aggressive data hoarding and addictive design practices turned Facebook into one of the biggest companies in the planet, almost overnight. But already by the early 2010s, and Zuckerberg knew deep down that Facebook would be on the way out at the end of the decade, as he was failing to capture the next generation, and was losing out to younger, more organic apps like Instagram. Meanwhile, things weren't amazing at Instagram either. Sure, growth was solid and the business was doing well, but after 2 years of grinding away, Kevin and Mike were sick of doing it alone. Now, they had built up a team by this point, but it was always an uphill struggle to keep up with the growth of the app. Some sort of merger or acquisition would put an end to these troubles. It would give them all the investments they needed, with the added bonus of the infrastructure to push Instagram to the next level. So after turning down a few other suitors, Kevin and Mike sold the company almost entirely to Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook in 2012.
Americans share photos on Instagram. A company with only 13 employees bought today by Facebook for $1 billion.
At first, it seemed like they made the right choice. Kevin and Mike were still semi-independent, and they were free to grow the app however they wanted. And through the intelligent use of their new resources, Instagram had exploded in popularity. Within a year, they hit 50 million users, then 100 million a few months afterwards. But this all came at a cost, because it wasn't long before Mark came in to slowly force the founders out along with their original principles, allowing Facebook to make changes to the app and its business model forever. In 2014, Facebook pushed for changes to the data hoarding practices, making the app use Facebook's invasive tactics. A year later, they gave advertisers far more power on the app, letting them run 30-second adverts and buying products directly through the app, compromising your personal information and data security with the new hands of Mark Zuckerberg, a man notorious for exploiting all of your information and using it against you. That's why while you're exploring services like Instagram, every sign-up or interaction might expose you to potential spam, scams, or identity theft. But imagine navigating these apps like Instagram with complete control of your personal information, never having to compromise your privacy for the sake of convenience. Well, this is where our video sponsor and more. You don't need to use your real phone with contact. You'll have information in inboxes. You can get it over editing tools. The app went from a place to post filtered pictures of your real life into a showroom for the best looking photos of yourself that you could possibly create. By 2016, they made it so algorithms would decide what photos the app would show you. Instead of giving you a timeline of the photos that your friends had posted, Instagram would only show what it thought you would engage with the most, laying the groundwork for the addictive design that Facebook had already mastered. When Facebook began pushing for location tracking, it was the final straw for Kevin and Mike. They hated the direction the app was taking. They saw that Zuckerberg was using their app as a machine that turned people's addictions into a weapon against humanity. They thought that Zuck's push for maximum engagement would lead to some of the worst problems that we see today in society. The environment on Instagram was now a constant competition to get the most followers and the most likes on your photos, always having to look the best you possibly could for the algorithm, with the aid of Instagram's inbuilt Photoshop. Unlike the founders, Zuckerberg didn't care at all that the problems on the app would soon spill over into society. As long as it kept making him billions, it didn't matter. Eventually in late 2018, Kevin and Mike gave up fighting against the tide and just decided to leave the company entirely, leaving Mark Zuckerberg free to fully realize his plans for Instagram, and this has had an awful effect on society ever since. You see, plastic surgery was still a niche industry up until this point. It was only reserved for medical purposes, Hollywood actors and trophy wives.
I don't need to see
It wasn't nearly
like, ew, that was gross. Old things. What am I looking at?
as common as it was today, but But all of this changed with the arrival of Instagram in the early 2010s. Almost overnight, we saw a rapid transformation in how people presented themselves online, and the images of people we see. Now, we've already discussed what the Kardashians and other celebrities would do to get the perfect picture. After the surgeries, camera angles, and airbrushing, the final image is barely recognizable as the person it depicts. Instagram puts this power into the hands of the people. With the high-powered camera in people's pockets, they could take what would have been a normal photo, add a filter and some Photoshop to it, and create a vision of perfection.
Sure, it looks good.
All the little flaws and blemishes that make people human got ironed out. Now nearly anyone could achieve the level of unrealistic perfection that graced magazine covers for years. On its own, this would have been troubling. For decades, people worried about the negative effect on people's self-esteem and self-image that beauty magazines and Hollywood had. But Instagram took this to the next level, 100 timesing this problem by turning it into a global competition with millions of fans and billions of dollars on the line.
Yeah,
for the
Kim is
so of course it wasn't long
on
before people realized that to win this game, you had to go as far as possible. For the Instagram algorithm to bless you, you had to do whatever it took. The more focused on your image you were, the more money and popularity you could get as an influencer, constantly being dangled over you, your feed showing you all these people, sucked into the same Instagram algorithm, tapping into all your primal needs, playing into men's sexual urges, and for everybody's desire for fame and attention. It became about selling the illusion of perfection.
Do you know why I grow here on Twitch and why I'm going on YouTube? Because I don't care what people think about me. I don't care about my image. I don't care that people might not look how I look. I don't care. You know what I care about? I care about other people and how they feel. I like other people. I care about them. And I think that's why I grow. I grow because I care about other people. And I like them.
For a successful influencer, every photo pushed this narrative a bit further forward. They showcased their perfect bodies, their perfect lives, relaxing by pools, in million-dollar yachts, penthouses across the world, smiling with their equally perfect friends. It didn't matter that none of this was actually real and that it was all a fantasy. I mean, strip away the filters and the staged moments, and you'd just be left with a sad picture of self-obsession and insecurity. Living this way and focusing your whole life on your image is a terrible recipe for disaster. You would expect models, the people who are selected by society as the best looking people in the world, to have the least problems with critiquing their own appearance.
You know what this is called?
It's the opposite.
This is called don't let your kids on the internet. Don't let your girls, don't let your boys on Instagram. Yeah, they're going to be judged for it by other kids that parents don't care. But do you want your girl to be hated by everyone?
Over 40% struggle with body dysmorphia and disordered eating. But this was just for models. Honestly. This used to just be for these kinds of people whose entire livelihoods depended on their image. But in the last few years, Instagram has globalized its toxic mindset because of the results of its grand competition for visual perfection. All of the perfect illusions posted by influencers online were eaten up by the hundreds of millions of users Instagram gained in just a few short years. Some parts of Instagram culture, like using filters and photoshopping your selfies, entered the mainstream and affected the rest of the internet. It all had the effect of making everyone subconsciously disappointed with their own comparatively boring lives. If you weren't part of the influencer elite, then your life looked worse than the ones you'd see online every single day. And if you didn't have the flawless figure and perfect face like the influencers, then you just weren't good enough to join the club. The algorithm wouldn't bless you. You'd just be left in the bottom of the barrel, constantly refreshing your likes to see if anyone would give you more attention. And over time, this has led to a huge rise in insecurity, mental illnesses, and body dysmorphia amongst young people in particular. All the perfection made people think that the natural imperfections that everyone else has was something to be ashamed of. Inevitably, influencers were ready to swoop in and sell solutions to the problem they had made worse, most of them promoting harmless temporary fixes like their own cosmetic brands and makeup. The Kardashians would gain hundreds of millions of followers on Instagram, and then promote their makeup lines, making billions in the process. But for some of these Instagram-fueled insecurities, there was only one way to really change it. If you wanted a bigger butt like the models on Instagram, a slimmer waistline, bigger boobs, or for guys a better jawline, a better face, plastic
Hold on. We're having a All right. I'm coming back.
Plastic surgery was the easiest and quickest option. It didn't matter that it was fake. If it worked for other people, it would work for you too. The whole insecurity was built on fake image to begin with. And so Instagram has duped tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of people into thinking they had a real problem, and that the only way to fix this problem would be through medical procedures. If you could just save up enough money, maybe you could look like your idol. Maybe then you could get enough likes and
Again, this is why kids can't go on the internet. A girl is going to go get Botox, ruin the rest of her life possibly, look awful, possibly look better, depends on perspective, and then commit suicide at some point because, you know,
attention to finally feel worthy.
You're not
Lots of
worthy
people
anything.
realize it's an endless problem that you'll never be happy
Exactly.
with. Of
He's
course,
saying-
plastic
he's saying
surgery
my
won't
point.
fix your insecurities. After one procedure is over, something else pops up that needs to be fixed. Realistically, even if you don't mind plastic surgery, it's still better in moderation. A few touch-ups could be seen as a positive thing if it doesn't lead to more insecurity. But
Or
the
if you're
beauty
getting it
standards that
for your
Instagram
nose
was
to be
pushing
fixed or
didn't push
anything.
people towards moderation. Instead, they made everyone else want to look the same. And the more of your friends that got plastic surgery, the more of your idols that got surgery, the bigger the desire you'd have yourself for getting surgery. People call it the Instagram face, characterized by perfect skin, luscious and full lips, sharp cheekbones, and long eyelashes. It's become what millions of young women around the world dream of having. Of course, it's only possible with surgery, Botox, and Photoshop, and the world will move on to a different beauty
Because life
standard
is fake
before
now.
long. But this hasn't stopped people from trying to achieve this illusion. It's especially noticeable
Women
in
are
celebrities
fake online.
and
Everyone
promoted
is fake.
everywhere on Instagram's algorithm. Whether or not plastic surgery is involved, tons of models, singers, and movie stars have slowly changed their image to match the Instagram template. Ariana Grande is a good example. You can see the progression towards the Instagram singularity over time with this picture. Notice how her eyes have gone
tell me honestly, does this look that much better than this? This is a bad picture. No, it doesn't. Ariana Grande looks fine either way. She didn't need to do all this to be beautiful. She was already beautiful. And she couldn't accept that.
stretched out, her nose has changed, and her lips have gotten fuller. She's also lost an unhealthy amount of weight, which is a huge problem when it isn't healthy. Obviously, people can look whatever way they want to look, but there's something really sad about all of these young people getting duped into thinking their natural beauty isn't.
I have people in my group that are so depressed from social media that, like I said before, if you're in my group, but I banned it for kids to not go on it, and immediately, almost days, their depression goes from like 100 down to 50.
Good enough. The modern standards that Instagram and its whole culture have imposed on people drives them to do this to themselves. Of course, that's not the only soul-destroying app that pushes people towards cosmetic surgery. Improving your performance on dating apps are also some of the top reasons people go under the knife. The most popular dating apps focus the courtship process almost purely on what people look like. People look at your picture for a second or two, then make a split-second decision on whether you meet their standards. You can easily see why plastic surgery would give you an advantage for this. Filters and editing helps, but
Does
it's too
it,
obvious
though?
if it's done poorly. An artificial face underneath all of that makes the final picture much more effective. Lots of the procedures that give you an Instagram face also work especially well with filters and airbrushing. So much so that some people design their own faces to look especially good in their online photos, whilst losing something when you actually look at
it
them.
does
While
to
you
dumb
making the
people.
Instagram face looks good on Instagram itself, next to a group of normal people
People
in
that
real
just
life,
stare
it just looks kind of
people that just stare at looks and doesn't care about how someone truly is. Well, yeah,
strange and alien. One thing about all the ways Instagram has led to the rise in plastic surgery is that it doesn't discriminate by age. In fact, young people and even teenagers are much more susceptible to the coordinated attack on your self-image that Instagram delivers. While the Instagram face doesn't really bear any
young
relation
girls
to
want to
people's
look like their
natural
idols.
faces, it is similar to someone who's in their early to late 20s. All the teenagers browsing Instagram and wishing they looked that good attempted to get procedures that made them look older rather than younger. This is the reason why plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures are growing fastest amongst people under 30, and even faster in teenagers. Some of these procedures are what's called preventative plastic surgery. People are getting Botox and other things done in order to prevent future wrinkles, not just fatten the ones already there. I mean, it's truly insane that people are trying to fix a false problem that hasn't even happened yet because of one app. Another far more disturbing procedure is buccal fat removal. It's been all the rage on Instagram for quite a while now because it matches the current beauty standards online. Even if you don't know what it really is, you'll recognize the effects. In the procedure, a surgeon makes cuts inside the mouth and removes what's called the buccal fat pad, which rests under the cheekbones. The result is far more prominent cheekbones and that sunken, hollow look that's all the rage right now. It makes you look far older and your face look thinner, but it's not without giant risks. The procedure itself can be painful and dangerous, but as people get older, their faces naturally get thinner and the natural layer of fat on your face gets less prominent. It's an irreversible procedure. All of the people getting it might regret it in 10 years down the line, unless they were going for that skeletal look in the first place. If we want to look at where we might be in the future with the rise of cosmetic surgery, we only need to turn to South Korea. The country is in the future.
Dude, South Korea is... Their high school students are getting plastic surgery. Like, almost... I want to say 20% of women. I want to take a guess. It's insanity. They're obsessed with fashion over there. And I don't know if they consider themselves ugly or what, but they definitely do not. They have a problem with plastic surgery.
A third of Korean women aged 19 to 29 have undergone the knife, and the numbers just
Which is
keep
probably
on
20%
rising,
of people
especially
that
amongst
are-
young people. 60% of South Korean high school students want to get surgery in the future. There's even stories of young people winning plastic surgery vouchers from their schools to help with their future careers.
Now that's borderline insanity. That's too much. I don't need that. Come on.
So what's going on here? And is this a warning for the future of the West? Well, one theory is that it's all part of a push towards stricter conformity and a move away from individualism. In a culture where your social standing and your reputation are highly valued, losing face can mean everything. Breaking cultural norms and deviating from what's expected of you can damage both you and your family's reputation. With so much value put on that by everyone else, people who break away get ostracized and excluded from society. One of the many problems that this can cause has come about with modern society's focus on looks and aesthetics, both in the West and in South Korea. While we might have Instagram face, it's a relatively new development compared to South Korea's rigid beauty standards. The same facial features are valued above all others and plastered on every billboard, commercial, TV show, and music video. Conforming to this standard has become the same as any other social rule or cultural pressure. It becomes almost rude to assault other people's eyes with your appearance if it doesn't match the cultural mold.
Bigger
Your
eyes
face and how you look get wrapped up into the
always
idea of success and
lead
happiness
to more
pushed by the
beauty.
rest of the
It's pretty
culture.
common.
No wonder
It's
plastic
pretty
surgery is so
well known.
popular.
It's
It's
because of
become the
babies with the
difference
big
between
eyes.
getting that
It
promotion you've been
applies to
working
men
towards and missing
and women's
out.
psyche
The same thing
more.
that's happened in
Like
South
them.
Korea has also come to China as well. The industry is booming there now. The amount of people getting surgery
For sure.
increased by 600% between 2009
Like, what are we-
and 2018.
why wouldn't it?
This huge demand has led to a sharp spike in unlicensed and dangerous plastic surgery that's led to some truly horrifying results. And what you're seeing here right now is the work of a mysterious figure known online as Dr. Kim. He came to prominence on TikTok after these videos showing his patients' uncanny transformations went viral. They're clear examples of what can go horribly wrong with plastic surgery. The facelifts are so tight it looks completely unnatural, and people are paying a fortune for this. Their natural beauty has vanished under an artificial glaze, and you're left wondering whether they can even smile or frown anymore. Now it makes sense through the
Ew.
lens of cultural conformity. The
Ew.
pressures to look young and attractive is so high that
You know what that's... Look, I don't call a lot of things demonic. They look like demons. From a religious man to someone that is... Look at this. I can put my face like this. Don't do that to yourself. You're beautiful just the way you are. You know, I was into modeling for a while, and I left because of how judgmental everyone is, you know. Not to me, but to a lot of people. And it wasn't fair that I've saw mistreatment everywhere. But ruining your body to just get into a dress or look well or presenting yourself to another man is an embarrassment.
People are led to these extremes and are willing to do anything to achieve that sense of perfection, even going to unlicensed butchers like Dr. Kim. And Tov's series investigating these images has led to some really dark stories, as it appears that Dr. Kim is not one person but a pseudonym used by a shady unlicensed plastic surgery company called Shanghai Huzhong Medical Beauty Clinic. And from the evidence he gathered, they've been accused of using expired drugs, have been sued by multiple people and companies, and they've even trafficked counterfeited drugs to use in their practice. Whilst these pictures definitely aren't indicative of China's entire beauty industry, they do show where criminals can turn a profit from exploiting it. All the normal, even handsome people you see in the before pictures were unhappy with how they looked because their culture made them insecure. It opened the door to criminals looking to make an easy buck, with no regard for what their victims will have to live with for the rest of their lives. And it seems like the West is moving farther towards this point of cultural conformity with the help of Instagram, the biggest promoter of these artificial beauty standards. Sure, there's more virtue signaling than ever. Everyday corporate media outlets tell people that differences are good and that we should love our own features and characteristics, whatever they might be. But at the same time, it does seem like we're going in the opposite direction. The pressures to have a perfect body and face is so high. Nearly everyone on TV and in films looks pretty much the same, all
Look at this. I have a stomach. Okay? I see this? It's a gut. Do I look normal? I look normal. Nothing really wrong, you know? I'm gonna say this now. If you're not happy with who you are and accepting of what other people are, it's a shame on you, not a shame on anyone else. If you're not content, if you don't wake up in the mirror and wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and be like, I'm a beautiful person. It sounds slightly narcissistic, but if you don't do that, it's your problem. No one else's. All right? It's a shame. It is. It's a shame. But yeah.
completely plastic, fake, and hollow. It doesn't matter what the context is in Hollywood now. If your shirt comes off in a movie, you need a six-pack and you need to be on steroids. And then also lie about it. The dating world is by far the best indicator for how selective people's beauty standards have become. With modern dating apps and our image-focused culture, your face needs to pass the swipe test before you can even play the game. More and more men and women get pushed out of the system, rejected because they no longer conform well enough to the modern Instagram-faced beauty standard and its male counterpart. And so much exposure to inhuman perfection on Instagram has warped people's standards and made a whole generation of lonely outcasts. There's even people talking about an incel revolution nowadays, as more and more people get pushed to the sidelines without any romantic interests, while at the same time, another huge section of people are becoming literally plastic. That's why you should never expose yourself to the toxic sludge that Instagram promotes, as every time you go on the app, you're subtly, subconsciously becoming more and more insecure. Disconnecting from Instagram's twisted beauty standards means that you can actually truly appreciate people that the rest of the world might not even see.
Well, that was a fantastic video. It really showed the problems with society nowadays and what to do with them. But that's it. I spent 4 hours reacting to videos. I want to thank you all for watching, both YouTube here in this section. Tomorrow there'll be another reaction video, of course. But probably, you know, the normal has-been stuff. These were just a little bonus for my 1-year anniversary on Twitch. But yeah, for those on YouTube, thank you for watching. And those on Twitch, thank you all for tuning into the stream.